In this video, what I'd like to do is a review of how we calculate the molar mass. In this case, it's called the gram formula mass, the molar mass of a compound. So I'm going to look at this worksheet and we're going to work through question number 6, which is ammonium, NH4 is the ammonium ion, and then phosphate, PO4. The reason that it's an NH4 3PO4 is NH4 is only a 1 plus ion and PO4 is a 3 minus, so it takes 3 NH4s to balance the PO4. For the molar mass, we're going to calculate the mass of a mole. As a review, molar mass is just equal to the mass of 1 mole. And the way that we find molar mass is we use atomic weight from the periodic table. So we are using the atomic weight from the periodic table. So in this case, if we're going to work through question number 6, the formula is NH4 3PO4. To find the atomic, or to use the atomic weight to be able to find the molar mass, what we're going to do is list out each one of these elements. So for instance, N, H, P, and O. So the first thing that we do is we list out each element. Then we count the number of each. Now, this 3 on the outside of the parentheses distributes to the N and it distributes to the H. When it distributes to the N, there's an invisible 1 here. So it's 3 times 1 gives you 3. And then it's 3 times 4 gives you 12. And then it's an invisible 1 and then a 4. When we go to the periodic table, we need to find out how much each of these have for its atomic weight. And we're going to, in this class, we're going to round to the nearest tenth. So nitrogen, 14.0. Hydrogen, 1.0. Phosphorus, 30.9, but that 9 rounds up, so phosphorus is 31.0. And then oxygen, 16.0. So 3 times 14, 14, 28, 42. 12 times 1 is 12. So it's like we're going to the store and we're purchasing 3 nitrogens that each cost 14. 12 hydrogens that each cost $1, 1 phosphorus that costs $31, and 4 oxygens that cost $16. So when we do all that, we end up with 0.0, 4, 8, 9, and then 5 and 8 and 1, 49. This is 149 grams. The way that we interpret this, the way that we would interpret this is we would say 1 mole of NH4 is equivalent to 149.0 grams of NH4 3PO4. This is called the molar mass. It is the mass of a mole. Now, we may also write another equivalent statement. 1 mole is also equal to a number, and that number is 6.02 e to the 23rd. Now, I need to decide what units I'm going to call this. This is an ion, and it's listed on the back of my polyatomic ions. It's ammonium, NH4 with a plus. And then PO4, phosphate, is also back here, phosphate. So this is an ionic compound, so I have to call the particles. The particles are going to be called formula units of NH4 3PO4. So there's a third equivalent statement. 1 mole is a mass, 1 mole is a number of particles, and in this case it's formula units. Sometimes we can also write it as a volume, but in this case we cannot. NH4 3PO4 is an ionic compound. It is not a gas, so this last piece we cannot write. And then we can put not a gas. If it's not a gas, we cannot write that last piece. We can only write the first 3 pieces. So this is how we calculate the molar mass of a compound. The mass of 1 mole, we use the periodic table looking at the atomic weight. If someone were to give me a bottle of NH4 3PO4 and they asked me to measure a mole, so let's say that we had a measuring device that measured in grams, and we put a container here, and then we've got our bottle. We're going to put some NH4 3PO4 on there, compound, and we start putting it on. And somebody asked me, we need a mole of NH4 3PO4. I need exactly a mole. I am not going to go count out 602 billion trillion formula units of NH4 3PO4. That's impossible to do. But what I can do is I can count them by measuring them. I start to put NH4 3PO4 on the balance, and it'll look just like NaCl, salt. All ionic compounds look just like salt, except that they have copper in them and then they're a blue color. So we start putting the NH4 3PO4 onto the balance until the balance reads 149 grams. As soon as the balance reads 149 grams, I know I have 1 mole, so I know I have 602 billion trillion formula units of NH4 3PO4. We call this counting by measuring. We cannot count the number of particles, but we can measure the mass of them, and then we'll know we have 1 mole and also 602 billion trillion formula units. I hope this helps with not only calculating the molar mass, but also interpreting the molar mass.